I think you know, Quake Live is sort of this last-ditch effort to revitalize the dual community, to give them, you know, I guess sort of the ideal game, the ideal situation. Is the Quake community even worth saving, considering how negative they are and how you know, things like that?
How negative are they? I don't know.
Have you read ESR ever?
Well, doesn't really represent the dueling community. It represents many spectators, and I'm sure many positive people like myself don't bother posting on ES Reality. So, no, I think it's worth saving. I think it's a very you know, dynamic, you know, competitive activity. The whole dueling FPS genre, going back to Doom 2, Quake 1, Quake 2. I think it's just a very fun, interesting game, and yeah, I'd love to, I mean, it's what Quake 3 has needed all along is a Battle.net-like system. I remember when Warcraft 3 came out, for instance, and I was able to play that online, and for about 2 weeks I played it pretty intensely, and I just really enjoyed watching my level go up, you know, and being matched against the people of similar level, and occasionally being matched against someone who's, you know, twice as many levels as high as I am. That kind of stuff is addicting and makes it really fun and really nice for a beginner to get into, because you can play people who aren't so good at the beginning. So I think that would be fantastic, and I think more people could enjoy pure FPS dueling games if it were more accessible.
And is Quake Live that solution?
I think I think it's the best shot at the solution. They have a lot of developers working on it, and it seems pretty good so far. They've done a good job at making the game. Now we'll see how well they do in perfecting the interface and the other miscellaneous aspects of it.
Do you think that maybe it's a little bit irresponsible for players and communities and tournaments to get too excited about Quake Live, considering the history of duel games that have come out recently in the past? We've had Doom 3 came out flopped. We had Painkiller come out flopped. Quake 4, at least the first year, was a complete flop. And UT3 has no community right now to really speak of. Do you think that it's irresponsible, or do you think that players just need something to latch onto?
So again, I think that if they were just releasing a pure Quake 3 clone, boxed or downloadable or whatever, that would be somewhat of a bad move. You would just be releasing Quake 3, which we already have. It's already open source. You can already do whatever you want with it. Whereas what these games have been missing all along is a way for players to get into it. You know, if you want to, say, play chess online, you go to, you know, your favorite online game site, and you can sign up. You get like a faker rating, and you can play against people, and it's really easy and fun to get into it. You get massed against opponents with similar skill, and there's no such similar experience for FPS games. But it is kind of like FPS games are kind of on the level of these board games. I mean, okay, the rules do change between game to game, and the technical aspects, including like weapons and movement, do change, but the pure elements are still there, and I think packaging it in a way that many of these online board games are packaged would be very nice.
So we're at ESWC, and I'm sure you know by now, there's signs everywhere, where ESWC is actually inside of Envision 08. Normally ESWC is a little more standalone. What do you think about packaging it in this larger convention?
I think it's a good idea. I haven't really seen many big crowds, bigger crowds than I would at ESWC. And when I was in France at ESWC 04 and 05, there were huge crowds for all the finals. And I mean, I'm a big fan of computer graphics in general, and I look forward to checking out the rest of the event. But I don't think it makes too much of a difference for the actual gaming event.
Do you think that the smaller crowds maybe are a little bit more demoralizing, considering you've seen the larger crowds, and we know that larger crowds can come out?
Yeah, I mean, I remember in 2004 when Team USA played Team Sweden on stage outdoors for the finals. It was outside at around, you know, almost midnight is when the game was finishing up, and the entire lawn was packed with players. Like, they all brought blankets out there, and there were probably like 1,000 people just sitting down out there watching and cheering and yelling our names and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I do kind of miss that kind of enthusiasm and support. I mean, I remember when someone made a sign for me as I was walking out. They made a sign with my name on it, and they like wrote my name all over their face and ink and all that. And as I was walking towards the stage with my team, there were like players that had formed a gauntlet basically, leading us out to the stage. And that kind of stuff, you know, the fact that like people were really interested in it and that it kind of frames it as an epic showdown is appealing, and there hasn't been so much of that here. I mean, one could say that there have been epic showdowns that have matched up, you know, like 0-4 versus Cooler. Me versus Cypher, not so epic because I lose really bad, but it could have been epic if I were better. But yeah, I think when there's a lot of interest and a lot more on the line, it makes the games more interesting.
So, I mean, you sort of bring up the topic of the American communities versus the European communities, and traditionally, the European communities have always been stronger, they've always been more supportive, the American communities have been a little bit more complacent, a little less skilled. Why do you think that has continued to develop that way?
Well, I think when you look at the very top, there's great fluctuation in what you just stated. I mean, I could count many examples where teams I've been on have been extremely unfavored against our European rivals, and we've come out consistently on top. And similarly, there have been many very good standout American players over the years, perhaps more so than standout European players. But if you go below the very top level, there's much greater depth in the European and Russian communities in FPS shooter games these days, and there seems to always have been, particularly in Sweden in Quake 1, and now Sweden and Russia in Quake 3. And I think the availability of cyber cafes and availability of very good broadband connections, especially early on, led to much of that development. And plus, they have a lot of cold winters up there, so it makes for some good games spent, or good days spent inside playing games. Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot that we can do as the American community to fix our problem?
I don't see it as much of a problem that people aren't interested in games. Presumably, okay, I mean, if they're just watching TV, they should be playing games instead, because that's more interesting, in my opinion. But I don't see it as a problem. I think we should just we should present what's available, present the interesting aspects of these games, and let people adopt it or not. But I don't think forcing it on anyone is worth it.
So the vibe that I'm kind of getting from you is that professional gaming, at least in your life, has sort of taken a backseat to a more traditional lifestyle, to you know, the family, friends, school. Is that the way that you think everyone should do it, or do you think this idea of professional gaming actually has, you know, this drop out of school, dedicate your life to it? Like some people, like Lost Cause, you know, dropped out of school, or not dropped out of school, but moved away from his house, lived on the streets.
Yeah.
Is that the wrong way to go, or do you think a more traditional lifestyle is the right way to go?
Well, for one, it's risky to invest your entire life into professional gaming at the early stage in its development like this. A few people have done it, Thresh, Fatality, but they've done it not so much to be a pro gamer, but kind of as a means to a greater end, and they've been very successful with that. And I kind of see it for me as being similar to someone who picked up a musical talent or some other competitive skill at an early age and continues to perform or compete throughout their college and later years. I think that I mean, for some games and for some players, if you market yourself well and you know how to take care of yourself, and you have people making sure that you know how to take care of yourself and people watching out for you, then it can be an interesting option. I personally would not want to forgo school, just because, I mean, first of all, I think that living an interesting life helps you play games better. It keeps you in shape, keeps you focused. It doesn't degenerate your body by having you sitting down all day, you know, I mean, yeah.
So, I mean, is this the last we're going to see with you? I mean, you're off to grad school, or are you done?
No, I'm 2 years in and 3 years to go. So it's been the last we'd ever see of me, you know, on 8 occasions over the last 8 years, and yeah, I mean, I imagine I'll be back for more events. Yeah, the last event I was at was in December '06, before this summer, and then the last one before that was in June '05, and it might be a while, but if there's another event, I imagine I'll attend.
All right, well, thanks for sitting down with me, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.